The Olympic Games. For over a century, they have been the pinnacle of human achievement, a global stage where athletes push the limits of body and spirit. We watch, holding our breath, as records are broken and heroes are born. The ideal is pure: Citius, Altius, Fortius. Faster, higher, stronger. But beneath the bright lights and the waving flags, a shadow has always lingered, a desperate hunger for victory at any cost. This is not the story of the heroes we celebrate. This is the story of the scandals they tried to bury. From a single syringe of steroids to a vast state-sponsored conspiracy, from the world's fastest man to its most celebrated survivor, these are the 5 scandals that shattered the Olympic dream, revealing the true, devastating cost of the lie. Seoul, 1988, the 100-meter final. This was more than a race. It was a showdown. In one lane, the elegant American superstar Carl Lewis. In the other, the muscular Canadian powerhouse Ben Johnson. Their rivalry was bitter, personal, and had gripped the entire planet. The starting pistol fires. Johnson explodes from the blocks. It's not just a lead, it's a detonation. He crosses the line, arm raised, index finger pointing to the sky. The clock is frozen at 9.79 seconds, a new, seemingly impossible world record. Canada had a new national hero. The world had a new fastest man. For 3 days, Ben Johnson was a king. Then the Olympic dream imploded. His post-race urine sample tested positive for stanosololol, a potent anabolic steroid. The news struck the Games like a thunderbolt. Johnson was stripped of his gold medal. His record was erased. He was sent home from Seoul in disgrace. But the true cost wasn't just one man's reputation. It was the public's innocence. The investigation that followed, the Dubin inquiry, peeled back the layers of a dark, systemic problem. Johnson eventually confessed he had been doping for years, and the shadow grew longer. It was later revealed that 6 of the 8 finalists in that very race were eventually implicated in doping scandals during their careers. The 1988 100-meter final wasn't just a race. It became known forever as the dirtiest race in history. The cost, the trust in the single most watched event in the Olympic Games. Ben Johnson was just the one who got caught first. If Ben Johnson's scandal was a public execution, the East German GDR doping program was a secret, decades-long atrocity. It was called State Plan 14.25. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, the world watched in baffled awe as the small communist nation of East Germany dominated the medal podium. The 1976 Montreal Olympics was their masterpiece. The East German women's swim team, the Wundermädchen, Wonder Girls, won 11 of 13 possible gold medals, many with deep, masculine voices and heavily muscled frames. Their secret? A state-sponsored, systematic doping program of terrifying scale. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, Stasi secret police files were opened, revealing the horrifying truth. This wasn't about athletes choosing to cheat. This was about a government force-feeding performance-enhancing drugs to its children. Coaches, doctors, and state officials gave young athletes, some as young as 10, little blue pills, telling them they were vitamins. In reality, it was oral turinabol, a powerful anabolic steroid. The cost here was not medals or records. The cost was human lives. Thousands of athletes were unwitting lab rats. Many suffered irreversible health consequences, liver damage, heart disease, infertility, and severe psychological trauma. The most tragic symbol of this betrayal is Heidi Krieger, a champion shot putter from the 1986 European Championships. She was fed so many male hormones, her body began to change irreversibly. Years later, battling severe physical and emotional pain, Heidi transitioned, becoming Andreas Krieger. He testified that the state had murdered his identity. The East German machine didn't just break records. It broke bodies and stole lives, all for the glory of a regime built on lies. Sydney, 2000. America had a new golden girl, Marion Jones. She was charismatic, beautiful, and breathtakingly fast. She arrived in Sydney with an audacious goal: to win 5 gold medals in a single Olympics. And she almost did it. She won gold in the 100 meters, the 200 meters, and the 4x400-meter relay. She took bronze in the long jump and the 4x100-meter relay. She was the face of the Games, a global icon. But a different kind of investigation was quietly brewing back in California, centered on a small lab called Balco. This lab wasn't just distributing known steroids, it was designing new ones. Their specialty was a drug called the Clear, engineered to be undetectable by current tests. For years, as the Balco net tightened around athletes like Barry Bonds, Marion Jones denied everything. She looked into cameras with tears in her eyes and swore she had never, ever taken performance-enhancing drugs. She dared the world to doubt her. The cost of this scandal was not just the cheating, it was the lie. In 2007, the truth finally broke her. She confessed not just to doping, but to lying to federal investigators. The betrayal was complete. She was stripped of all 5 of her Olympic medals. Her teammates in the relays, athletes who may have been clean, were forced to return their medals too. But the highest price was her freedom. Marion Jones, the golden girl of the Sydney Olympics, was sentenced to 6 months in federal prison for perjury. She went from the world's biggest podium to a prison cell, a shattering fall from grace that proved the cover-up is always worse than the crime. Lance Armstrong had his legend at the pinnacle of sport. But his story of deceit is so vast, it consumed everything it touched, including the Olympics. He was more than an athlete. He was a symbol, a survivor. The man who beat stage 3 testicular cancer and returned to conquer the world's most grueling sport 7 times. His yellow Livestrong bracelet was a global icon of hope. At the 2000 Sydney Olympics, he added to his legend, winning a bronze medal in the individual time trial. But his entire comeback, his entire story, was a lie. For a decade, he bullied, sued, and systematically destroyed the lives of anyone who dared question him. Teammates, journalists, and staff who spoke out were branded as bitter, jealous liars. Then came the 2012 investigation by the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, USADA. It released a 1,000-page report built on the testimony of 11 former teammates. It described Armstrong's operation as the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program that sport has ever seen. This wasn't just steroids. This was a complex regimen of EPO, blood transfusions, testosterone, and cortisone, all managed with the precision of a medical team and protected by a code of silence. In 2013, the International Olympic Committee officially stripped Armstrong of his 2000 bronze medal. The cost of this scandal was perhaps the most profound of all. It was the cost of hope. Armstrong didn't just cheat at a sport. He corrupted a powerful story of human survival. He weaponized his cancer recovery to shield his lies. When the truth came out, it wasn't just sports fans who were betrayed. It was the millions of people who wore his bracelet, believing in the miracle. Sochi, 2014. The Winter Olympics. This was Russia's moment to shine, a multi-billion-dollar spectacle designed to project national power. And Russia dominated, topping the medal table. But the victory felt hollow, and soon the world would find out why. The architect of the deception was Grigory Rodchenkov, the director of Russia's anti-doping laboratory in Moscow. In 2016, fearing for his life, he fled to the United States and became the most significant whistleblower in sports history. His testimony, backed by a subsequent investigation, painted a picture of a conspiracy straight from a spy novel. This wasn't just athletes cheating. It was the state itself, including the FSB, Russia's secret service. Russian athletes were given a Duchess cocktail, a mix of 3 anabolic steroids dissolved in Chivas whiskey for men and vermouth for women. But the masterstroke was the mouse hole. At the Sochi anti-doping lab, FSB agents had identified a small, shadow-covered hole in the wall. Every night, under cover of darkness, they would pass bottles of tainted urine from Russian athletes out of the secure lab. Rodchenkov would then clean the bottles, fill them with clean urine collected months earlier, and pass them back through the hole. The evidence was irrefutable. The sample bottles, designed to be tamper-proof, had microscopic scratches on the inside, proving they had been opened. The cost was astronomical. Dozens of Russian athletes were disqualified. Russia was banned from competing under its own flag at subsequent Olympic Games. The scandal exposed a level of state-sponsored corruption that challenged the very integrity of the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, and the entire global anti-doping system. From a single vial of stanozolol in 1988 to an FSB-run operation in 2014, the history of the Olympics is also the history of doping. The cost, we learn, is never just a medal. It's the stolen health of athletes like Heidi Krieger. It's the public humiliation and prison time of Marion Jones. It's the shattered faith of millions who believed in Lance Armstrong. And it's the compromised integrity of the entire Olympic movement by nations willing to cheat at any cost. For every cheater who stands on the podium, there is a clean athlete who trained their entire life for a moment that was stolen from them. The battle against doping is a relentless race between technology and deception. And as these 5 stories show, the price of victory, when gained through a lie, is a price no one can afford to pay.